Start new chapter, reproduction in organisms. So this is the first chapter. In your first year PUC, you have studied that all living organisms reproduce and produce young ones. Reproduction is a characteristic feature of living organisms that you have already studied. Now, each and every organism live only for certain period of time. The period from birth to the natural death of an organism is called lifespan. So lifespan means it is the period from birth up to the natural death of an organism. Say, period of birth to death means it's not the right answer. You must write natural because the accidental death is not a natural death. That is why the definition is the period from birth to the natural death of an organism is called lifespan. If we examine different plants and animals, different plants means different species of plants and different species of animals. The lifespan is not similar. Say, for example, you have seen a sunflower plant. You have seen a marigold plant, a coconut plant, mango plant. You have seen the human being, elephant. The lifespan varies. The lifespan may be very short. Very short means only few days, or in some organisms it may be hundreds of years or even thousands of years. Okay. So here is a list showing the approximate lifespan of some plants and animals. So here we separated the plants and the animals. Say for example, banana plant. Banana we call plant, not banana tree, because it is a herb. The banana plant live only 2 to 3 years. Means its lifespan is 2 to 3 years only. So this is the reason after the fruit yielding we cut the plant, banana plant. Okay. If we examine the lifespan of rose plant, it is 100 years. No, you can't imagine. Rose is a shrub. It may live hundreds of years. Then rice plant. Rice plant means paddy, batta. So the rice plant lifespan varies from 3 to 5 months, even 6 months. Some of the species of rice, they live only 3 months, and others 5 or more. ನಾವು ಭತ್ತದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಅಕ್ಕಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಡಿಮೆ ರೇಟ್ ಸಿಗ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಅಕ್ಕಿ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ ರೈಸು. ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಸ್? ದಿ ರೈಸ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ವಿಚ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಸೈಕಲ್ ಇನ್ 3 months, ಅದರಿಂದ ಬರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ರೈಸು ಕಡಿಮೆ ರೇಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ದಿ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ವಿಚ್ ಲೀವ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ 5 to 6 months, ಅದರಿಂದ ಬರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ರೈಸು ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ ರೈಸ್. ಸೇ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಸೋನಾ ಮಸೂರಿ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, banyan tree. If you examine the lifespan of banyan tree means the scientific name Ficus bengaliensis. The Ficus bengaliensis live thousands of years. It may live even 2000 years. The banyan tree got longest lifespan. Okay. Some gymnosperms also got longest lifespan. That's all the lifespan of some plants. If we examine the animal's lifespan, fruit fly, its scientific name is Drosophila melanogaster, which completes its life cycle within 1 week or 10 days. This is called queen of genetics, because many genetic works done on this animal. The lifespan is only a week. If we examine the butterfly, there are different species of butterflies are there. The approximate lifespan is 1 to 2 weeks. What about crow? The crow which lives 15 years. But parrot, so there are different species of parrot also there. Parrot. So the highest lifespan is 140 years. We can't imagine, because parrot is a bird. So which lives even 140 years. Then a cow which lives 20 years. And a horse that lives 40 years. A crocodile which lives 60 years. And a dog that lives 12 to 20 years. What about the elephant? The elephant lives 60 years. But if you examine the lifespan of tortoise, it varies from 100 to 150 years. What is the lifespan of tortoise? 150 years. It is the more lifespan. Tortoise lifespan is more when compared to the other animals. Okay. So two important questions may appear in your examination. One is, in case of plant kingdom, the banyan plant got more lifespan, that is 2000 years, whereas in the animal kingdom, tortoise got more lifespan. Lifespan means it is the approximate age of that animal or plant which lives. Say, for example, if a cow is 20 years means, which lives 20 years means, it's not that it exactly die at the age of 20. It is the approximate age. Okay. That's all about the approximate lifespan of some animals. Next point. The lifespan is not related to the size of the organism. You can see now the tortoise is very small in size, but the elephant is the biggest animal. So tortoise lives 150 years, whereas the elephant lives only 60 years. So in this way, lifespan is not related to the size of organisms. If an organism birth has taken place means death of an organism is also definite. Birth and death. Okay. No individual is immortal. Immortal means amara. Endu sathogadilla. No individual is immortal except single-celled organisms. Say, for example, single-celled organism like amoeba, bacteria, paramecium. So they are single-celled organisms. Single-celled organisms are only immortal. How? Look here now. They are immortal because during their lifetime reproduce and produce the young ones or the daughter cells, you can say now. The daughter cells again divide and produce further daughter cells. Those cells again divide and produce the cells. So it goes on, divide. The cell goes on, divide. There is no death. That's why called immortal. Single-celled organisms are immortal. Okay. So next. Reproduction. Reproduction. What is reproduction? You have studied in your first PUC. Reproduction is a biological process in which an organism produces young one or offspring of its own kind or similar kind. If we analyze the meaning of the definition, reproduction is a biological process. Biological process means it takes place only in living organisms. Very important point. Reproduction takes place in living organisms. It means non-living things do not reproduce. In the reproduction process of an organism, produce the young ones. We call offspring also. The offspring of similar kind. This is very, very important. Similar kind means a dog, when reproduce, it can produce puppies only. A dog cannot give birth to kitten. ನಾಯಿ ಬೆಕ್ಕಿನ ಮರಿ ಹಾಕದಿಲ್ಲ. That is what the meaning of similar kind. Okay, that's all the meaning of reproduction. When once reproduction takes place, the young one is produced. The offspring is produced. The offspring grow, mature, then it also reproduce. So offsprings grow, develop, mature, then reproduce. This is how the cycle of birth and death exists in nature. Life cycle. Life cycle means from birth to death of an organism. Okay. Now we know that an organism reproduces in its lifetime. Why an organism should reproduce? What is the purpose of reproduction? If we examine carefully, the main purpose of reproduction is continuity of species. That is, species consider a species continuation. This occurs generation after generation. Look here. ಈಗ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಸೈಂಟಿಫಿಕ್ ನೇಮ್? ಹೋಮೋ ಸ್ಯಾಪಿಯನ್ಸ್. ಹೋಮೋ ಸ್ಯಾಪಿಯನ್ಸ್, ದ ಸೈಂಟಿಫಿಕ್ ನೇಮ್ ಆಫ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್. ನಾವು ಹುಟ್ಟಿದ್ವಿ ಅಥವಾ ಬಂದಿದ್ವಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅವರ್ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ನಮ್ಮ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ರಿಂದ ಮಾತ್ರ ನಾವು ಹುಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಅಂದರೆ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಯೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಹೋಮೋಸ್ಯಾಪಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ occur like this. You imagine there is no reproduction. ನಾವು ಈ ಭೂಮಿ ಮೇಲೆ ಬರ್ತಾನೇ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಮಾವಿನ ಗಿಡ ರೀಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ಮತ್ತೊಂದು ಮಾವಿನ ಗಿಡ ಇರ್ತಾನೇ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ದಿ ಮೈನ್ ಪರ್ಪಸ್ ಆಫ್ reproduction. What is that? Continuity of species. Okay. Very important for 1 mark. Next. Now we know that the organisms reproduce. How they reproduce? That's also very important. Coming to the reproduction, the reproduction is mainly classified into 2 types: asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Means the organisms reproduce asexually or sexually. Okay. Now, what is asexual reproduction? How to define asexual reproduction? Very important for 1 mark. Asexual reproduction is a type of reproduction which involves single parent producing offspring without the formation of gametes. What is the meaning of this definition? Asexual reproduction involves single parent. It means only one parent is enough and it produces the offsprings. During this type of reproduction, the gametes are not formed. Gametes means the sperms and eggs. We say sex cells. Sex cells are not produced. How ಅಂತ ನೀವು ಹೇಳೋದಾದರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ, ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ಒಂದು ನೀರಿಯಂ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಟಿನ ಟ್ವಿಗ್ ತಗೊಳ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು, ರೆಡ್ ನೀರಿಯಂ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಟ್ ಎಂದು ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಹಾಕಿದರೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬೆಳೆಯುತ್ತೆ. ಅದೇ ಥರ ಇರೋಂಥ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಟ್ ನೀರಿಯಂ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಟ್. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಯು ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ a type of asexual reproduction in angiosperms. Okay. Sexual reproduction. What is sexual reproduction? Sexual reproduction is a type of reproduction which involves 1 or 2 parents produce male and female gametes which fuse together and produce young ones. What is the meaning of this definition? Sexual reproduction involves 1 parent. How 1 parent can produce 2 gametes, 2 types of gametes? The male gametes, the sperms, and the female gametes, eggs, means the lower organisms, lower plants you take, they are homothallic. The same plant produced 2 types of gametes. Lower animals also, for example, earthworm, a hermaphrodite, bisexual anbardu, which produce both male and female gametes. So only 1 parent is involved. But majority of higher plants and animals requires 2 parents. The male parent produces male gametes, sperm, and the female parent produces female gametes, the egg or the ovum, which fuse together at the time of fertilization and form zygote. Zygote develops into young one. Later on, the young animal develops into adult or mature one. Thus, we have two types of reproduction. Okay, very important for 1 mark and also for 2 or 3 marks. Differentiate asexual and sexual reproduction like that. Okay, now we shall study asexual reproduction in lower organisms. That's very important. How the lower organisms reproduce. Lower organisms means from the point of evolution, they are primitive organisms. For example, Amoeba, Penicillium, algae, fungi. They are lower groups of organisms. How they reproduce? Asexually. Look here now. It's important for 5 marks. Explain asexual reproduction. We know the definition of asexual reproduction. In this type of reproduction, single parent or only one parent is involved. Involved means taking part in reproduction. Very important point is the gametes are not formed. Gametes means the sex cells, sperms and eggs are not formed or produced. Then, meiosis never takes place. There is no meiosis, no fertilization, and zygote is not formed. Okay. The offspring of asexual reproduction always resemble the parents and are called clones. Say, clones. Especially in higher plants, this term is more applicable. What is clone? Clones are morphologically and genetically similar organisms and resemble the parent. Very important for 1 mark. What is clone? Clone means the offspring produced from the plant. Say for example, for understanding purpose, ಒಂದು ವೀಳ್ಯದೆಲೆ ಬೀಟಲ್ ವೈನ್ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಟನ್ನು ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಒಂದು 100 ಪೀಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಹಾಕಿದರೆ ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ಒಂದೇ ಥರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಒಂದು ರೆಡ್ ಹೈಬಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಬೆಳೆಸಿದರೆ 100 ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಟು ಒಂದೇ ಥರ ರೆಡ್ ಫ್ಲವರ್ಸ್ ಬಿಡ್ತವೆ. They are called clones because morphologically they are similar. Morphologically means nodadikke, externally they are similar. Even the genetic makeup, genetic constitution of the organism is similar and similar to the parent. That is why the definition morphologically and genetically similar. Okay. This type of reproduction is common in single-celled organisms. As I already told you, Single-celled organism means lower group of organisms. Say for example, the kingdom Monera. The members of the kingdom Monera. And the members of the kingdom Protista reproduce by this method. If you examine carefully, when single cell amoeba divide and gives rise to two daughter cells, when bacterial cell divide and gives rise to two daughter cells, it means the cell divide and produce two daughter cells. The cell division itself is a type of reproduction in lower organisms. Okay. Now, we shall see the reproduction in amoeba. See the diagram. Refer the diagram. Practice the diagram also. You must draw the diagrams. Label the parts. The single-celled organisms, as already discussed, are immortal because the daughter cells again divide and produce offspring. So there is no death. For example, the amoeba, Paramecium, belongs to the phylum Protozoa, which includes single-celled organisms or animals which reproduce asexually by transverse binary fission. See the diagram. The cell nucleus elongates. Then it divides into two daughter nuclei. It is followed by the cytoplasmic division and produce two daughter cells. These two daughter cells are similar to the parent cells. This is how amoeba reproduce asexually by binary fission. Okay. So asexual reproduction always takes place during favorable conditions. What is the meaning of favorable condition? When plenty of water or moisture is there in the atmosphere. When there is water in the pond, we can say now. ಪಾಂಡ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ನೀರಿದ್ದಾಗ asexual reproduction ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. You imagine during summer the pond dries up. ಒಣಗೋಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ pond. For the survival purpose, what happens? It reproduces sexually. Then, to overcome the unfavorable conditions, the amoeba withdraw all pseudopodia and become spherical in shape, secrete thick wall, and this process is called encystation. That is, cysts are formed. Okay. Then, the nucleus of this cyst, with the return of the favorable condition, divide mitotically into many daughter nuclei. Many daughter nuclei. It is followed by the division of the cytoplasm and a large number of amoebae are formed. This is what we meant by multiple fission. Single amoeba gives rise to many amoebae. Okay. Now, next, we have seen the protozoan. Okay. Similarly, the bacterial cell also divide and produce two daughter cells asexually. Okay. Now, if we examine the kingdom Mycota, for example, the fungus yeast. Yeast means Saccharomyces. How the yeast reproduce? The yeast always reproduce by budding. See the diagram. Look at the diagram. The parent cell, formation of bud, then daughter cells. So by budding, the yeast reproduce. How it takes place? During budding, small outgrowth takes place on the parent wall. The nucleus elongates, divide into two daughter nuclei. One of the nucleus migrate into the bud. Then cytoplasmic division takes place. Daughter cell is formed. The bud is formed. Okay. Sometimes in yeast what happens? A very important point for NEET or CET. The bud formed, athwa the cells with daughter cells which are formed will not separate and appear in the form of a mycelium. It is called Pseudo Mycelium. Pseudo means false mycelium. Okay. So, how the yeast reproduce? The yeast reproduce by budding. Okay. Now, the kingdom Mycota includes fungi. Example, Penicillium. Penicillium notatum. From this plant, penicillin antibiotic is obtained. How the Penicillium reproduce asexually? The Penicillium reproduce asexually by the formation of what are known as conidia. Conidia are spherical in shape and they are non-motile spores. Okay. Some of the fungi like Penicillium, even Rhizopus, Mucor reproduce by the formation of spores. Next, if we examine the lower algae, that is the members of the class Chlorophyceae, for example, Chlamydomonas, it is a unicellular alga that reproduce asexually, that is during favorable conditions, by the formation of what are known as zoospores. See the diagram of zoospore. Zoospores are pear-shaped, having cilia, that is they are motile. See what is the difference between conidia and the zoospores? Conidia are spherical shape, zoospores are pear shape. Conidia are non-motile, whereas zoospores are motile. In conidia, cilia absent, whereas zoospores cilia or flagella present. Conidia produce in the kingdom fungi, zoospores are produced in algae. So this is how you make four differences for 2 marks. Differentiate. So that's all with respect to asexual reproduction in lower animal plants. Similarly, we shall examine the asexual reproduction in lower animals. Lower animals means, say for example, the phylum Coelenterata. Coelenterata includes Hydra, Obelia. How the Hydra reproduce? See the diagram. Hydra reproduce asexually by budding. See the diagram, bud. The buds are formed externally. That's why the buds are external. So Hydra reproduce by external bud formation or budding. What about the phylum Porifera? Phylum Porifera, it includes only sponges. The sponges, freshwater sponge there, marine water sponges are there. The sponges reproduce asexually by the formation of what are known as gemmules. What are gemmules? The asexual reproductive spores of sponges. The gemmules also called internal buds. So that's all asexual reproduction in animals, lower animals and lower plants. Okay, it's very important even for NEET or CET examination. Thank you.